Yo, what's up guys, it's Ritual. To celebrate the year of Final Fantasy 15, we've put together our top 15 lists of Final Fantasy things. So join us today while we count down our top 15 Final Fantasy characters. Propping up our list at number 15 is Final Fantasy XII's self-professed leading man, BALTHIER. Being the son of the first protagonist version of Cid, and being made an Arcadian judge at the age of 16 wasn't enough to keep the guy with the sharp looks and the even sharper wit down, breaking free of the Empire and stealing a prototype fighter ship on his way. During the course of Final Fantasy XII's proceedings, he remained ever the gentleman, and along with Fran provided some fantastic relief from the angsty teen bullshit that Van was dishing out. Next up at 14 is the first of two recurring characters in our list, Gilgamesh. For the most part, he appears as a travelling weapons collector on the hunt for Excalibur. One of his trademarks is feigning defeat and then buffing himself and coming at you again, or running away. He could be considered cowardly, but is generally one of the tougher bosses in the Final Fantasy series. One theory is that he needs to find the true Excalibur to control his rift hopping, as in the 20th anniversary port of the original Final Fantasy, when the party finds Excalibur, Gilgamesh appears saying, "I finally found it, now I can go home." Clutching at straws? Maybe. But for someone who has had his hands on many of the most popular weapons in the series, it seems strange he is still chasing after Excalibur. In at 13 is Final Fantasy VI's CELES. Another character who turns their back on an evil empire. She is a genetically enhanced Magitech knight who becomes disillusioned and joins up with the Returners. Opting to fight in order to earn the trust of her new companions, we get to see CELES develop as a mirror to Terra, and while awkward at times, she becomes one of the more endearing characters in Final Fantasy VI. It helps that she is the star of one of the more famous scenes from the entire series, the opera, Maria and Draco. At number 12, we have Final Fantasy IV's KAIN. KAIN is generally calm, occasionally sarcastic, and ultimately driven by his want to follow in his father's footsteps and become a dragoon. In love with his adopted brother's girlfriend and the subject of mind control a few times, and falsely accused of a string of murders in the Lunar Trials of the Advanced series, he's definitely a character you feel a lot of sympathy towards. He doesn't let any of that get him down and remains a recurring badass throughout, ultimately becoming commander of the Dragoons. At 11 we have RAUBAHN from Final Fantasy XIV. Leader of the Immortal Flames and all-round tough guy, once a gladiator, he used his winnings to buy the Colosseum in Uldar, earning himself a place in the Syndicate. Being faithful to the Sultana, he remained her only real link to power in Uldar. They are definitely in some kind of weird relationship. Never afraid of a fight, and despite losing an arm, he remains one of the best combatants in Eorzea. We're into the top 10! Next up is EDGAR from Final Fantasy VI, the ultimate ladies' man. From the moment he is introduced, he flirts with Terra, CELES, and even Realm before she tells him her age. It's also worth noting that in the original Japanese release, he carries on flirting with Realm even after he finds out her age. She was 10, by the way. Don't hold that against him though, he is still an excellent character. EDGAR is a king, a master engineer, and the original double agent. Plus, when he was 15, he got into trouble for flirting with his uncle's wife. Japan is weird. Next up at number 9, another Final Fantasy VI character, KEFKA. Maniacal, short-tempered, flamboyant, destructive and cruel. Prior to KEFKA, all the antagonists were cold and distant, so when KEFKA burst onto the scene, he was an instant hit. He is well known for his one-liners and his sociopathic hatred for everything in existence. His trademark laugh can be heard throughout the game, including the final battle and during the Dancing Mad track. You can also hear it in Final Fantasy VII if you inspect the face in the corner of the item shop in the Ghost Square of the Gold Saucer. Which leads us nicely into number 8, another bad guy, Final Fantasy VII Sephiroth. Idolised by the public and infantry men alike for his strength and discipline in combat, a celebrity war hero and poster boy for Soldier, until he went a bit nuts and tried to call down Meteor. In Crisis Core, his humanity is explored more, and that only makes what happens after the Nibelheim incident that much more sad. At first glance, his motives can appear a little unclear, but once you understand that he finds out he was experimented on before he was born, taken from his real mother, and then forced to become a super soldier for Shinra, after they realised that he couldn't talk to the ancients, well, his reasoning for hating everything becomes a little bit clearer. Number 7 on our list is another Final Fantasy VII character, Vincent. A former Turk with a mysterious past that links him closely to many of the antagonists in the Final Fantasy VII world. While he is dark, brooding and distant, his story is ultimately driven by love and revenge. While I'm not fully satisfied with the ending to Vincent's story, In Dirge of Cerberus, we do get a little closure when he returns to Lucretia's cave following the destruction of Omega, and tells her that everything is alright now. In at number 6 is Final Fantasy IV's Cecil. Strong, gifted and unwavering. He was the epitomized paladin, overcoming the darkness in his heart and turning to the light in order to defeat Golbez. This highlighted one of the game's core themes, that brute strength alone wasn't power. Cecil became weaker when he transitioned from a Dark Knight to a Paladin, but eventually became more powerful than he ever was as a Dark Knight. He defeated evil, got the girl, and became king. What's not to like? At number 5 is Cloud from Final Fantasy VII. We're definitely talking about the pre-Advent children Cloud here, not the angsty emo we have to deal with post-Aeris. It's been 2 years, man, get over it, come on! A mercenary to start with, and holding the persona of a cocky soldier first class, he eventually regains his true personality and shows true concern for the planet. The real Cloud is kind-hearted and cares deeply about his friends. Number 4 on our list is our second recurring character, Cid. Along with Moogles and Chocobos, he has become a staple feature in Final Fantasy games. While their appearance and role in the games varies, they're normally technically minded and portrayed as an engineer or as an inventor. They're also frequently sources of airships in the game too. Cids are also frequently portrayed as being older than the main cast and sometimes take on a father figure role to someone on the main cast. In at number 3 is Terra from Final Fantasy VI. Pivotal to the plot and often considered the main protagonist of the game, at first she is a confused and fearful amnesiac, suspicious of anyone who wants to gain access to her powers, which she herself does not understand. Throughout the game, she learns more about herself, eventually learning her true past and coming to control her powers. She still questions her own humanity, but in the end comes to terms with herself and courageously vows to use her powers to make the world a better place. At number 2 is the only Final Fantasy X character to make the list, Lulu. Stern and scathing at times, but nonetheless kind-hearted, caring and intelligent. She is one of the few Yevonites to question their religion on objective terms. She guides and advises the younger members of the party despite not being that much older than them, particularly Wakka, whom she eventually marries. Protective and loyal to her friends, she quietly guides and assists the group, all the while casting some pretty awesome black magic. And finally, we've made it to number 1. It's another black mage, this time from Final Fantasy IX. It's VIVI. Initially, he lives up to his childlike appearance, being clumsy, gullible and shy. He's filled with self-doubt. During his journey, he gains confidence and bravery in the face of danger. But despite that, he still questions himself and his own existence, ultimately finding out the answer to his questions under his own steam and not relying on his friends. Coming to terms with his mortality, he remains with his friends to defeat Kuja. The monologue at the end of the game is spoken by Vivi, and his final line is, "Farewell, my memories will be part of the sky." Vivi came of age, accepted his own mortality, and battled on regardless, all in the space of a year. We think he's the true hero of Final Fantasy IX. So there you have it, our top 15 Final Fantasy characters. I'm sure there will be some debate over the list, so feel free to hit up the comments and tell us your favourite character of the series.